Hey everyone, welcome to the WorknDirt channel. I'm Joel, and today I got another cool project for you, and it's installing an LED light trough in the corner of this room near the ceiling to lighten things up. As you can see, it's really dark, and this is a music studio in a business residence, but you can do this to any residential room, and it's a great way to add cheap lighting because they're energy efficient. You can change the colors. They sync to music, like you can't go wrong. You can make any kid's day or your husband's day inside his pool room, game room, anything like that. So stick around, we're gonna show you what we use, how we go about it, and how much it costs. Okay, this is the material that we're going to use for our trough, and it is a finger joint prime pine 1x material, just shy of 3/4 inch thick, and I've already ripped it to size, and I'll show you those sizes in a second. But your choices are using something like this, or you can use an MDF molding, but I don't really like working with that, and in this case I think it's a little too heavy and flimsy, and I don't like working with the nail holes on it. And then if you wanted to go nicer than this, you can use poplar, which is a nice dense wood. But for our case and our budget for this project, we are just going to use all of this primed finger jointed pine. And now I'm going to show you the dimension of the trough. This is the schematic for the trough that we're going to build today. And as you can see, the overall size is going to be 2 3/4 inch high by 2.5 inch wide. And it's just big enough to hold an LED light strip, which is very light, by the way. So I don't need to build this overkill. But as you can see here, this piece right here is going to be our ledger board, and that's going to be a 2-inch tall piece that we're going to use self-tappers to go into our metal studs, because this is a business residence. You're going to have wood studs in your house, so you can use wood screws countersunk into your little ledger board. Now, this board is going to be screwed and nailed. This is so lightweight, we can actually get away with glue and brad nails, but I think I'm gonna add a few screws just to make it really strong, since, you know, if you were to put any weight in this, which there won't be, it just holds it a little better. So, and then here we have the face piece, and we're gonna use the 1/4 inch material brad nailed and glued to this, and then we will spackle and paint the outside of this. This would be the bottom and this would be the front, and then your LED light strip will lay right in here. So should get it might be a little trickier than it looks once we get started. The only thing I do foresee is I might add a couple spacer blocks up top here, depending on how well I feel that this stays nice and stiff and straight when I glue it into here. So the other reason why I didn't want to use MDF is because if you use MDF, it's a heavier board, so out here it would weigh down, and out here this piece would weigh a lot more. So by using the primed pine, it's a nice light strong structure, and should be more than adequate to hold our LED lights. Another thing I want to mention is I've already ripped every piece down to these widths, and the average price I paid per linear foot is right under $1 per linear foot. And this whole structure is going to be a total of 37 linear feet, and I will double check, probably around $140 on everything for materials. But when you work with poplar or any other solid dense wood, you're going to spend more than that, like probably like $1.30 per linear foot depending, and then MDF might be a little cheaper, but like I said, there's different caveats working with it as far as like working with the nail holes and that, so you can get that to be a little cheaper, but this is what we use today. Okay, getting started here, the first thing we want to do is go find all our studs. Now don't worry if you've never found a stud before, I have a video called How to Find a Stud. Now there's more to it than just locating it. There's cautions to take about what might be inside the wall, so definitely go watch it, give it a thumbs up, and come back. So getting started here, we're going to use our magnetic stud finder. We're going to slide it across the wall. Boom, we hit a stud right there. And we're going to mark it with a piece of tape. That way we don't mark up our beautiful wall. And once we have all our studs marked, we're going to put a horizontal line that we can install our ledger board on. Now that we have our studs marked, we need to mark our horizontal position. So there's several ways you can go about this. You can use a laser level like the one you see behind here, which is on a fancy stacking system, as you can see, or you can use a level, or you could take an average of measurements off the floor or the ceiling and then draw your line in between. But we're using the laser level, as you can see, and we're gonna put a piece of tape in various places right below the line, and kind of hard doing this one-handed. And then we can put our trim piece up right to that line. Okay, we're ready to hang our trim piece on the back wall here, and I want to say that this is why it's important to really think about the materials you want to use, because in our case here we have a 15-foot back wall, and for those experienced trim guys out there, they know they can get 16 and 17-foot pieces out there and not have to run a seam, because if you have to run a seam it takes longer, you got to line it up on a stud and all that. So when I was debating on which materials to get, I found out that these were 16-foot lengths and they were straight, and coming from Home Depot, that was a rare find. So if I would have gone to a hardwood place, it would have been more expensive, yada yada. So this again is Radiata primed pine, finger jointed, and it's nice and straight, rigid, and light. And what we're gonna do here to install it is we're gonna put a little bit of liquid nails. The model's fuzz, well, fuse it, I call it the fuzz. So this stuff works good on a lot of scenarios. We're just gonna put a couple dollops on the back of this board to hold it in place. And because I have metal studs, unlike you guys with wood studs, I'm gonna put a little glue and put a few small 1.5 inch brads into my 5/8 sheetrock just to hold it in position. Then I'll go back and every other stud add a screw to hold it rigid to my studs. In your case, you guys can glue and nail straight to your studs. Probably I would suggest 15 or 16 gauge nails, and you should be nice and strong. Now I also put the rip side down so that it has a better surface to glue my board that's going to be horizontal. All right, now that I got the trim board up, I can now start pre-drilling my studs, and I'm gonna screw every other stud. You always obviously put enough fasteners for the job, and for this being a lightweight application, I could probably even do every third stud. So we're gonna pre-drill the holes so that the screw doesn't pull the board away from the wall. Okay, so I have a 2 3/8 self-tapping screw, sheetrock screw to be exact, to go into my metal studs here, but you, like I said, will probably use like a 2.5 inch wood screw, and I'm gonna try to do this one hand. There we go. I don't need to countersink it too much because I don't want to strip that metal stud in there, and you're not gonna see the screw, so there you have it. All right, now that I have that trim piece screwed up there, I need to put the horizontal trim piece on, and so we're gonna use the fuzz because the fuzz works great. It sticks to so many things. I'll have to do a review on it some other time, but we're gonna put it on the back side so it'll stick to the wall, and then we're gonna put it on this side so it sticks to the bottom piece of the trim on the wall, and then we're gonna have the rip side facing us so that we can put the fascia or front trim piece to that. It'll have a nice surface to glue to. But then we'll use some 18 gauge brad nails, probably 2 inch or 1.75 inches to go vertically into that trim piece from the bottom, and then I'll come back and add some screws for a little added strength. But you could rely solely just on this fuzz because it works so good. All right, we have the whole edge glued. Be careful not to touch anything. And then also to point out, it's gonna go that way and overlap that joint, so it'll kind of bind that corner together and be glued to that piece on the right, if that makes any sense. Okay, now that we have the horizontal trim piece up, I want to let you know maybe you should probably put glue on the wall trim piece first, because if you put it on the horizontal piece that you bring up, you might touch the wall and have to spend time cleaning it, and that's not fun. So learn from me. And then anyways, once I got it up, I put a few brads to hold it there, and then I put some clamps on to finish nailing it, and that helps squeeze the glue everywhere where we need it. And I think I'm just gonna stick to glue and brad nails because this glue is extremely strong. and we're not holding any weight like I said before. Now, to make this joint a little stronger, I was gonna bring my Craig jig, but I forgot, so I'm gonna use my countersink tool and countersink a screw that goes right in through here at a 45. As you see, let's see if I can do it with the camera on. It's called the Fast Craig. Okay, you're probably wondering, why are you caulking already? You're not even done. Well, I had to get changed because we're gonna go to a Christmas Eve dinner, and so I want things to be ready for Thursday, and if I caulk now, it should be dry, and then we'll be ready for some paint, and I'll only have to do the face piece, which is not gonna get any caulking, except maybe in the corners. So we're just gonna put a small bead here. Let's see if you can see. There you go. One-handed, yeah. And then if the gap is tiny, you can use your wedding finger or your pinky or use your index. And no one ever talks about the technique, but sometimes you need to roll your finger to get a different radius edge, or if the gap is big, then put one bead up in the gap, let it dry, and then set another bead and then build on top of it. So anyways, there's some caulk. All right, so we're ready to put on our trim piece on the face here. And I just put one little block here with a couple brads underneath and some glue to keep it from pushing in, although I really don't need it, but just extra insurance. And on that end, I'm not putting any supports on the inside because when I nail this face piece to here, it's enough surface area to keep it nice and straight and not worry about it flopping, especially when I'm using glue and brads. So as you can see, it's nice and firm with just being on the face and nailed about every, I don't know, 6 to 8 inches with that fuzz. And now it's time to get it primed, spackled, painted, all that good stuff. Okay, this is the little IR receiver that receives a signal from the remote. And then these are the two ends that plugs to the two different LED strips. And as you can see, I just laid them down in the trough here. Let me show you. There you go. And I didn't take off the double-sided adhesive tape on the bottom because they might move it or adjust it. So it lays fine. It works fine just like that. Now, as far as electrical goes, as you can see, I have a power source up above, but you'll definitely want to speak with an electrician to get power for yourself, or you could run a cord down through the trough somewhere hidden in the corner, put a plant to hide it, but yeah, there's several options. Here's the remote they give you, and I think to save them money, it's not like computer controlled, so they have a designated button for each function, but it also helps the end user, I think, do less thinking. They know these are the different preset theme motions or whatever, and then here's all the colors you can have, and I don't know, this is a timer, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. So very simple, self-explanatory once you use it once, and this is how bright it gets. So, yep, nice little remote. Damn. So, yeah, this is the accent lighting now. It's all finished, and as you can see, it's on fade mode, so it can sync to different music. It has a bunch of color settings, all types of settings. But now go ahead and turn it off, Brian, the light. There you go. So now the musicians can get funky with whatever light theme they like. So pretty cool. All right, there you have it, folks. I hope you like it. A nice LED light trough, or room halo, or glowing ceiling, whatever you want to call it. We will link the tools we used in the description below, as well as the LED light kit. And all in all, I think we spent about 160 bucks plus or minus, which is not bad for the effect you get. Thank you for watching. And remember, your viewership helps our channel support veterans, trails, and charities each quarter, so thank you. Stick around and get back to work.